Welcome in everyone to Flyover Footy. My name is Matt Baker, here for our first Between Matches episode of 2025. For those who are new to Flyover this year, and as a refresher to those who are long-standing listeners and viewers, here's what to expect on these periodic midweek podcasts. First of all, it's just me. We look at midweek training, the latest player news and injury updates, and interviews from head coach Olof Mellberg and players. These usually come after Tuesday's training, where Olof provides updates on how they recap this previous game, how training is going during the week, and anything that might be caught in the middle between the recap of the post-game presser and the pregame presser in the later portions of the week. In addition, we hope to be speaking with various players throughout the year. So if you're a fan of listening to information directly from the players, getting to hear from them on their thoughts regarding games and anything else that might be top of mind at the given time, this is your spot. These Between Matches pods look to talk to various players throughout the season, and we have one later on in this episode. Spoiler alert, it's Kyle Hiebert. But first, before we get into hearing from both Olof Mellberg and Kyle Hiebert, I want to give a recap of training to get you up to speed on how St. Louis is progressing after their 0-0 draw against the Colorado Rapids and before they travel to San Diego to open Snapdragon Stadium for San Diego FC. Today, as of Tuesday, as I'm recording this, 20 field players and 3 goalkeepers were on the training fields together, including Emil Jääskeläinen. But I'm told that that is not an indication that a contract is upcoming. More than likely, it's Jääskeläinen needing to fill out as they're getting matchups on the field, on the training field. They need to fill out a certain number of players, and Jääskeläinen was called up, so to speak, even though he hasn't officially been announced as having a contract for either City or City 2. On the field for Tuesday did include Chris Durkin and Cedric Teuchert. Really good news as we continue to see them progress. Teuchert from just his absence in getting his green card, and Chris Durkin in his continued recovery from his knee injury. No homegrown players were on the field as of Tuesday. No Joachim Nilsson, no Rasmus Alm, and no Jay Reid. Jake Girdwood-Reich was on the training fields running separate. He did not participate in team activities on Tuesday. Regarding Joachim Nilsson and Rasmus Alm, Olof Mellberg described them both after training, and he described Rasmus Alm as having a hip injury. Olof Mellberg said he expects him to be out around 3 to 4 weeks before he'll be reevaluated. Joachim Nilsson sustained a bone bruise, as Olof Mellberg described it, in the last friendly against San Jose, the closed-door friendly just prior to the season starting. Despite not leaving that match, he did have an injury that he picked up during it. He's trending better. He had a scan done that showed a bone bruise, and then he had a subsequent scan done that showed improvement. There was no timetable put on Joachim Nilsson, so it sounds like they're hoping to get him back sooner rather than later. Now, one of the fun and unique things about this midweek pod is getting to hear directly from head coach Olof Mellberg. First up this week, let's hear from Olof before we hear from Kyle Hiebert on a few topics. And I spoke to Olof Mellberg on topics including anything he noticed from Colorado after reviewing the game tape, how he approaches training after a good performance but lacking in that goal scoring, and his overall approach to second half subs. This has been top of mind for me and us on Flyover, as well as fans, ever since last season, hoping we would see a little bit of a different, or wondering rather, if we'd see a different approach when it comes to second half subs and tactics. Spoke to Olof about this on his approach, and especially after Colorado, did that reflect his tactical eye during the game? Here is head coach Olof Mellberg.
Coach, you mentioned post-game that you wanted to review the tape for some certain things. Did you see anything analyzing the game on tape that you missed the first go-around, or that you took away different?
Not really. It was quite similar to how I felt immediately after the game, looking back at it. A lot of details that we're going through and talking about. We had our recovery training on the Sunday, so we had a lot of work immediately after the game and early in the morning to prepare that post-game analysis, to give that to the players and have a day off, and then now just focusing on the next game.
And when you have such a complete performance, so to speak, defensively, you had one of the better performances in City's history, but the goals just don't fall. How do you train that? What's the messaging to the players in the performance on the field was good, but they couldn't score a goal?
Yeah. I mean, we need to continue to work defensively as well. I mean, we're coming up against a different opponent now this weekend, so we have to have a little bit of a different game plan. So we need to work in all aspects. We had a lot of set pieces, quite a lot of corners. we were close, but it wasn't enough. So we have to improve in all areas. But definitely working today. We worked a lot in the final third. Everything was really close to the goal. So which means that that I get a lot of possibilities to score in a training like this.
Did you see the non-stop play you wanted to see?
Yeah, I did. Not over 90 minutes. We can still improve in that aspect as well.
Did the type of subs that you used on Saturday and kind of what their tactical approach was, did that indicate you were really pleased with how overall the game was going? It seemed like the 3 subs you used were like for like. You didn't change any tactics. Does that indicate anything?
Yeah, we were happy with how the game looked, but looking back at it, I think maybe I could have done a little bit more to get some more energy in the team. Those last 10-15, we dominated the game, but I think maybe we should have pushed a little bit more because they looked really tired, both because they had the game midweek, but also because of the game was like. We dominated quite heavily at periods, had quite a lot of possession, which you can benefit from last 10-15, and that final push we lacked a little bit. So hopefully we can have more games like this and then just push a little bit more last 10-15.
And now to finish this midweek show, our featured interview where you'll hear his takes on the new system, his role and instructions under Olof Mellberg, his versatility, always battling to prove himself, and plenty more. Here is defender Kyle Hiebert. Thank you so much for joining me on this midweek edition of Flyover Footy, and have a great day. Kyle Hiebert, thanks for joining us on Flyover Footy. Thoughts after the Colorado game?
Yeah, I thought we had a great performance as a team. It just obviously sucks. They're coming off a midweek. We're home. We play better. We want to turn it into 3 points, but I think we took a lot of positives out of there, especially the clean sheet. That was something we wanted to improve. Last year gave up way too many goals. So on that foot, we are off to a great start.
And how has training been since then? What did you see from the tape? Anything you could take away that maybe is different from what you felt in the moment?
No, I think the tape was pretty similar to what we felt. We gave them like a couple opportunities, but in terms of XG, shots on target, and specifically limited a lot of their free kick opportunities. With Mihalovic, he's got a lot of quality. So I think a lot of what we set out to execute, we did really well.
Talk through your experiences here so far. Under Olof Mellberg, under the 3 center back look, what has it been like adapting to this system, and does it feel new to you this year?
Yeah, I think some parts are new. You look without the ball, defending in a back 5 with 2 9s and a 10 underneath and some mobility there. But with the ball, in the past, we had gone to a back 3 higher up the pitch building. So some parts are the same, and some parts it was a little bit of an adjustment period of figuring out, okay, when this guy's wide, who goes, or do we not go in that and wait for another trigger? So I think just picking our moments, I think against the ball, picking our moments a little better, and then with the ball, can we be the team that controls the game?
And in this first game, left center back, was there different instructions from left to right center back? Did you and Josh have different things that you were responsible for doing, or was it more symmetrical in that regard?
Yeah, I think pretty symmetrical. Take what they give us in terms of where the numbers are. If we're on a goal kick and the central center back flips out on either side, if they don't adjust to that, we've got a numerical advantage. But if they do, then you've kind of got pros and cons both sides.
This preseason, you saw a lot of time at wingback. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a different experience, especially with 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2. You have the whole width of the field up and down, so it's definitely a lot more taxing. But I feel like that has prepared me physically for center back and for wing back, which is nice. From a legs perspective, I feel great.
And how about tactics, being in the attack? What does that feel like?
Yeah. The ability, I didn't join in, but the ability he has of being a little bit more fluid in the attack, that I do have the option if the moment's right to join in and get a bit higher, especially coming from playing wingback now back to center back. Feel a little bit more comfortable doing that.
Had you ever played wingback before in your career?
No, never. That was the first one.
And you played it a few times.
In a back 4, but I was coming shallow. So yeah, in the preseason,
yes.
Preseason, that was my first wing back in a 5.
Okay, so one of the bigger questions, at least in the fan base, has been tactically. Are you a center back in this look? Are you a wing back? Do you get any idea from what Olof expects you to do this season? Mentally, are you approaching this as a center back, or just do you expect Olof to have different looks each game maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he's told me it's kind of game by game basis, and he likes me in both. I think naturally, coming from being a center back, for the last I don't know how many years of my life, that's where I have a higher level of comfort. But just understanding and being able to play another position, and then also see it, you recognize, okay, how can I help my wing back defensively? Like when he presses out, I got to make sure I'm sliding to take the winger, or like on the ball, things you can do to help the wing back. So I think tactically it's helped me seeing the game from another perspective, and just going to be ready for wherever he puts me.
And then talk through Henry Kessler's involvement. It looked like, especially post-game, he talked about his instructions to provide coverage to you and Josh in that game. Do you expect this to be consistent on your role as maybe a wider center back? And then is this what we can expect the central center backs to be doing?
Yeah, that's something we talked on in preseason, was the ability. We are a back five, so if someone presses out, we still have four in the back, and we want to be able to shift and slide and cover spaces. And you saw it a couple of times where, I think especially the one I'm thinking of was Jarl stepped, Navarro had run in the channel, Kesh gets there first, wins the ball, wins a key foul. So he did that a couple of times. And knowing then if he's going, I got to be coming, and on the other side, if he's going, Jarl's got to be coming, the whole team sliding. So I think we struggled with that earlier in the year in preseason, but that's something where over time we think we've figured out and gotten better.
What does it mean to you? I'm not sure if you looked at the stats, but this is your second time starting an opening game in 3 seasons. After coming through City 2, and a lot of people thinking of you as depth, what does it mean to you to be able to say you've started two opening games for St. Louis City so far in 3 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, just coming to preseason prepared and fit and attack each day. And then, whatever the coach does, it's out of my hands. But always blessed to be able to start and be out there on the field.
Do you ever think about bringing in center backs, the hype that goes around guys like Timo coming in or Henry coming in? Does that ever cross your mind, or what's your approach when it comes to breaking into the starting 11?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff, I let the sporting director, Lutz, do his job, let the coach do his job, and then I try not to. The more you fixate on that, which you can't control, the more you can get frustrated or down. It's just like whoever they bring in, you be a good teammate to them. But then as soon as you're out on the field, it's compete for jobs, compete for minutes, and walk inside, back to friends.
And how do you feel your versatility and flexibility plays into that? Are you kind of one of the more unique players, or do you feel you have a team full of versatile players that can play some of these multiple positions you've shown?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not the only one. I think we got multiple guys that can go. Akil's one that always bounces around. Chris Durkin's out right now, but he could be a couple of spots. JGR. I think there's a lot of guys that can slide around, whether that's as a wing back, whether that's higher inside. Conrad's a guy who can play winger, wing back, fullback, interior. So I think we got a bunch of guys that have that versatility, which will be helpful for us later in the year. You see as injuries pile up or stuff happens, you want guys that can play a couple different spots.
All right, final takeaway from Colorado. Do you feel like this was a game that you want to replicate, or are there things you need to improve on?
Yeah, overall, I think defensively what we gave away, I think their XG was like 0.25. I could be wrong, but that's what we want to do. We want to limit them in terms of their XG. That's going to keep goals off the table, and then we were the better team. I think it's just finish our chances, and maybe a little unlucky on the offsides one, but other than that, I think that's what we want to do.
All right, Kyle Hiebert, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.